You weren't smiling there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you all for coming to celebrate a special occasion today. It was lovely to watch Kerry and David exchanging their vows. It's marvellous to see these two good people come together. I'd like to say a special thank you to Doris and family for travelling all the way from Norfolk to London. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Barry, Kerry's oldest brother. Today I was so proud to walk my sister down the aisle to marry David, the man she loves so much. It's not something I thought I'd ever have to do, but it's been a great honour and privilege. And even though Mum and Dad can't be with us, I know they are looking down on us and will be extremely proud. And on behalf of my Mum and Dad, I would like to welcome David into the family. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank David for getting Kerry into her dress. So we've never ever seen her in a dress since her Holy Communion when she was 14. I'm sure you all agree, she looks amazing today, and that you scrub okay too, David. The family weren't quite sure what to make of David when we first met him. Put a Sunday's dinner down in front of him and he nearly cried. But give him kebab and pizza and his eyes light up. As for alcohol, he was practically teetotal, but we are now changing that slowly but surely. And he's picking up all our bad habits. Now well and truly one of the family. I'd like to say, as a couple, I'm really proud of you both. You were both hard working with good jobs, and have even developed a business as a sideline. So anyone who needs any sex toys, David, I'll have you beavers. .co.uk. Joking aside, joking aside, I think you've found in each other a partner and a trusted friend and a soulmate who will love and honour and cherish each other. Just before I finish, I'd like to say a few words of thanks to the two stunning bridesmaids, Kimberly and Kerry, best man Wayne and Usher Grant. To all the staff at Hardwick Hall for making it such a special day. And on that note, I'd like you to raise your glasses and toast that couple, David and Kerry. David and Kerry.
Please pray silence for your groom today, David.
Barry. My turn. Okay. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to Sedgefield. It's been a glorious day. It's not often we see it, but there you go. You've come here to support myself and Kerry getting married on a beautiful May day. It's a joy to see as many friends and family around us. It's a little sad to think that it has to be a big day for people to come together like this, and it's something I'm hoping to fix in the future and hoping to see people a lot more often. And obviously long travel, but we'll come down and see it, I'm sure. This is actually the second speech I've had to write. The first one I didn't work. It was last Saturday between calls on a lazy Saturday afternoon. I went on the internet, found yourwritemyspeech.com, and I just changed all the names. Oh, fantastic, excellent job done. Then I thought, well, it was last night, I was all alone in the house. Kerry had come here. My mum had took the dog away and it was just quiet and nice. And I put a Kings of Leon album on and I thought I'd write like something a bit better and a bit more special. So, Kerry's put a lot of effort into today, and I thought it's only fair that I show a bit of willing, I suppose, and I actually forgot to print the one off at work, so not much choice. Writing this out, I first thought about how life would be like without Kerry, and what it would be like if she wasn't living my life for me. Sorry, I meant with me. She would use that. I wouldn't be half the man I was without her, and I do thank her for that. And I look back and I'm very thankful for what she's done for me. And I also want to thank her for how beautiful she looks tonight and very pretty. And
Yeah.
speaking of very pretty and good looking, Grant, what an excellent speech you did at the start of the ceremony. You did a very good setting, reading the poem for the ceremony. Thank you very much for that. And there's a token of our appreciation. We'd like to give you something if that's okay. Kerry wants to get it out for me. The bridesmaids, Kimberly and Kerry, we've already given their presents today. They're wearing some nice jewellery for the day, set to sing. And I want to thank you very much for that, for doing what you did. Next, I'd like to have a big thank you for Barry, who delivered Kerry to me safe and sound. A very big thank you for that, mate. We also have a small gift for you as well. We've also got a bunch of flowers for my mum, just for being there all through the years. And thank you very much. Also for keeping our dog for 3 weeks. I'd also like to thank Susan for all the balloons she's prepared, and also for helping Kimberly make all the cakes and things for this, today and this evening. And I'd also like to thank Stephen for all the little bits and bobs he's done and all the little loose ends that we couldn't be bothered to do ourselves. So if you want to come up and get your presents as well. And finally, I'd like to thank Wayne for being the best friend anyone could ever have. And I want to thank you very much for help and support for the day and keeping us on the straight and narrow.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Ray.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, I came across a quote saying a soulmate is finding one's counterpoint in another, of which can make you truly happy. I think it's a very apt, and I believe I've been very lucky enough to find mine in Kerry. Now, I did get that quote from Wedding Crashers, but I'm sure it still works all the same. And finally, which I bet you're all ecstatic about hearing, I'd like to thank you all for listening. Very nice to speak to everyone in one room, as I say, and friends and family around us, an absolute joy. I'd also like to pass you over to my best man, Wade Robinson, who's going to rip into me quite a bit, I would have thought.
Possibly.
I've seen his speech, it's quite colossal. So I'll let you get to it. And thank you all very much for We've also got lottery tickets in all of your favour bags. Now, we have wrote all of the numbers down, and we know which tables are on. A tenner, that's fine. Thank you, petrol money. Anything over that, we expect to check our way. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've all been waiting for, apart from one man. Your best man for today, Wayne.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wayne, and as the Toastmaster has mentioned, I am indeed the best man, which has actually got me a little bit confused. You see, if I am indeed the best man here today, then why in heaven's name has Kerry married David? I think we can safely say, ladies and gentlemen, that it was the bride that got the best man here today. Without a shadow of a doubt. And if all goes according to plan, there ends any of the nice things which I intend to say for the duration of the speech. Now, what I have done is I've done exactly the same as Barry, and I've done exactly the same as David. And I've written some thank yous. I didn't realise that they were going to both do thank yous. Now, I have spoken to David, and he said that he didn't mind if I do the thank yous as well. So just bear with me for a few minutes while I do the thank yous as they did. So thank you to Barry. Thank you to Barry for a wonderful job in giving Kerry away and for a very moving speech. Thank you for that. Thank you to David for your speech and also for making the effort to turn up today. Thank you to our bridesmaids, Kimberly and Kerry. I'm sure that you all agree, ladies and gentlemen, that they look absolutely stunning. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they are only quite rightly outshone by one person, our bride Kerry. Will you give her a round of applause for me? You know, I have always thought of Kerry as someone special, a work of art. And today, I think our work of art really did receive the Turner Prize. Don't you think? I'm quite proud of that. Thank you to my wife, Susan, and our bridesmaid, Kimberly, for the wonderful wedding and evening cakes. I can guarantee you they taste absolutely fantastic. Thank you to Grant for your reading. That was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I thank you to Stephen for his work on the invitations, to name but one of the many things that he was involved with. Thank you, Stephen. And a very big thank you, ladies and gentlemen, albeit in advance, to a group of people without whom today I guarantee you will not be the same. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the bar staff. And finally, thank you to the rest of the Hardwick staff involved in the wedding preparations and all of the people not mentioned but whose effort is very much appreciated in today's wedding. Thank you. These cards are actually very handy. Ever since I turned 21 last year, the little grey cells have started to deteriorate, so I needed some prompts. Can I just say what a wonderful crown we have here today for Kerry and David's wedding. I honestly didn't realise that they allowed so many patients out at the same time on David's. Gentlemen, I'm sure that you will agree with me when I say that today is a sad, sad day for all those single men as another beauty leaves the available list. And ladies, I'm sure that you will agree with me when I say that today passes by without so much as a You know, marriage is an amazing thing. To love someone so much that you are prepared to make vows which will bind you together for the rest of your lives is without doubt an incredibly powerful thing. I believe that marriage is a discipline to be added to a list of achievements. Marriage allows us to be loved when we're unlikable. And marriage allows us to see the small child in each other. And ultimately it is love which brings us the joy of a wedding day. But at what point do you realise that marriage is for you? Well, what I've done is I've penned a very short verse. I believe that if you can say this verse and your loved one comes straight to your mind, then perhaps marriage is indeed for you. And what I'd like to do, it's just a couple of lines, but what I'd like to do is I'd like everyone to think of the love that David and Kerry have for each other. As I say, in fact, I'm actually going to dedicate this to David and Kerry. As I say, my feet shall run because of you. My feet shall dance because of you. My heart shall beat because of you. My mind thinks because of you. And I shall love because of you. And if that doesn't work for you, then perhaps I could put it in a different way. Food programs are very popular at the moment. There are many different types on TV, but they all have one thing in common: a recipe. So if marriage were a recipe, what would the ingredients be? Well, how about 1 part faith, 1 part patience, 1 part courage, and 1 part work. Add to this 1 part hope, 1 part faithfulness, and 1 part kindness. Blend in 1 part prayer and some good deeds. Season with a dash of good spirits, a sprinkle of fun, a pinch of play, and a cupful of good humour. Pour all of this into a vessel of love, garnish with smiles, and then serve with quietness, unselfishness, and cheerfulness. And this recipe, ladies and gentlemen, serves too. Now, Barry mentioned in his speech 2 special people that cannot be with us on this special day. Now, I didn't know Peter, Kerry's dad, all that well, but I did know Brenda, Kerry's mum, just a little better. Well enough, in fact, to know that she did have a sense of humour. And with this in mind, and knowing fine well, as Barry has already said, that they are both looking down on us today, of that there is absolutely no doubt, I'd like to try and imagine the conversation that Brenda and Peter will be having with each other. And what I'd like to think is that Brenda will be saying to Peter, "Doesn't our Kerry look beautiful today? It doesn't feel like 5 minutes since we were sending her off to bed with a dummy. And now it's happening all over again." Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to ask you to stand, but will you please raise your glasses and join me in a toast to absent friends. Right. David and Kerry will tell you that I am partial to a bottle, or 3, of wine. In fact, I would appreciate it if you could all remember that if you see me at the bar later. So I thought how nice it would be to get the opinions of some of the world's finest winemakers as to what they thought of marriage. And they came back to me with this advice for any of David and Kerry's guests thinking of following them into marriage. Ladies, remember that men are like fine wine. They start off like grapes, and it's your job to relentlessly stamp on them in the dark until they turn into something that you would like to have dinner with. And gentlemen, women are also like fine wine. They start out fresh, fruity, and intoxicating to the mind. The trouble is, they then turn full-bodied with age, before going all sour and vinegary, eventually giving you a headache. Now, I thought it would be nice to do something different during my speech, so I've decided to give you a short, 2-part history lesson. Part 1. Let's start off with Hardwick Hall. Now, it's a lovely venue. Don't you agree? Don't you agree? It's a lovely venue. Now, what you may not know is that the hall has an old underground escape tunnel dating back to the Second World War, which actually brings you out at the racecourse along the road. The door to the tunnel actually is in the room where the service was held. David knows which door it is. I saw him looking at it often enough during the service. And part two. This date, the 30th of May, believe it or not, does have its place in history. Not many people know that on this very day, 80 years ago, the famous Alcatraz prison accepted its first inmates. This is where men were taken away from their families and forced into a life of solitary confinement from which there was no escape. They were endlessly tortured, humiliated, and basically forced to do whatever their masters wanted. And I have no doubt, or I'm absolutely sure, that when Kerry chose this date for the wedding, it was a pure coincidence. Well, what a busy morning it's been, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how the bride slept last night. Did you sleep well? Terrible. Well, I can assure you that the groom slept like a baby. Yeah? He wet the bed twice and woke up every hour crying. Now, apparently it was my job to get David here today looking handsome and in good order. Unfortunately, God didn't get this right the first time round, so what chance did I have? Now then, I understand that according to tradition, I am supposed to sing the groom's praises and tell you his many good points. Well, I'm sorry, but I can't sing and I won't lie. I only really got to know David when he and Kerry started courting. But even so, because of the age gap between us, I have had the pleasure of watching him grow from a cheeky, loud and forward little boy into a cheeky, loud and forward adult. Did you like that one? And after talking to Margaret, his mum, I can also tell you that he was very nearly called Tuesday instead of David. Apparently, when his mum and dad took one look at him in the hospital cot, they said, let's call it a day. In fact, he was the only baby in Coxo with shutters on his pram. Well, that's Tickleberry's fancy. While researching what dirt I could dig up on him, what information I could find on him, I decided to talk to his workmates at Npower and also his old friends from Caterpillar. Grim. What surprised me the most was that they often described David as godlike. My surprise, however, quickly turned to understanding when godlike referred to the fact that he was rarely seen, and if he ever does any work, it's a bloody miracle. I also spoke to a non-work related person who said that he was conceited, selfish, arrogant and insensitive. Thanks for your input, Kerry. Now, I still wanted that juicy story about David. So I turned to long-time friends for help. The following story, ladies and gentlemen, was given to me on the understanding that the person involved could remain completely anonymous. And you have my word, Rory. During a Leeds festival, after a day of revelling, it was decided by David and his friends to retire to their tents for the evening for some drinks. Now, I don't know how many of you know, but he's not a beer man. But, so all the prospects of the cans didn't appeal to him. However, a full bottle of Malibu caught his eye. He likes Malibu. And in a very short space of time, the full bottle of Malibu became an empty bottle of Malibu. And this is where it all goes downhill for David. He decided to go for walkies. So upon standing, staggering to his feet, he set off in the direction of some nearby tents. As he approached the tents, and I'm glad we've all had lunch, he saw a large pile of stomach contents on the ground. And so, bearing in mind his condition, he's just drank a full bottle of Malibu. He very carefully tiptoed around it and several tent guide ropes. Now, he must have thought himself quite smug to have cleared all of the obstacles. The Malibu in his blood, however, had got its own ideas. It took control of his legs and made him take 2 steps backwards, allowing his feet to become entangled in the very guide ropes that he'd just spent time avoiding. This made him fall backwards, but it didn't end there. You see, the Malibu's measurements were meticulous. As he hit the floor, he put his hands out behind him to brace himself, as you do, and as he did so, his hands went straight into the vomit, which had actually been his first obstacle. As he walked back to his friend's tents, with the vomit dripping from his hands, you can imagine his friend's reactions, but all he did was walk past them, went into his tent, and fell fast asleep with the vomit still dripping from his hands.
You've got some good mates here, haven't you?
However, needless to say, as Barry's just said, they are indeed very good friends, so good in fact that they're actually here today. And the Malibu, I can assure you, has been removed from the bar at Kerry. It was an interesting story that I didn't know about. No, apparently you can. There might have been a little bit of artistic license in there. So, a little bit about Kerry and David as a couple. Well, let's start off with the obvious, ladies and gentlemen. Their love can only be described as pure and simple. Kerry, so pure. And David, so simple. For those of you who didn't know, Kerry and David have actually been together for around 4.5 years. After they got together on the 27th of December 2004. Now, I don't know whether you knew this, but they're actually into DIY. Did you know that? It's true, it's true. I have often heard them saying in the past that they like nothing more banging and screwing. As a couple, I actually spoke to them just before the wedding. And I asked them, what are you looking for in marriage? David said, love, happiness, and a long life together. Very commendable, I thought. And so I asked Kerry the same, and she said, a coffee percolator. Well, actually, she didn't. She said a perky copulator, but I knew what she meant. I can actually still remember the first time that they went away together for a romantic weekend. David even arranged for flowers and champagne in the room. In the morning, they went down for breakfast. David ordered a full English breakfast for himself. Bacon, sausage, eggs, toast, cereal, coffee, the works. And for Kerry, all he ordered was no more than a lettuce leaf and a carrot. I asked him later that morning why that was, and he said, I wanted to see if she ate like a rabbit as well. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to read out some last-minute notes which have they've just come in. And the first one is for David, and it's from Durham Constabulary. Dear Mr. Turner, congratulations on your wedding. With regards to the recent theft of your new wife's credit card, are you sure that you do not want us to find the thief just because they are spending less than your new wife was? One for Kerry from Gatenby's in Coxall. Dear Mrs. Turner, congratulations on your wedding. We are very sorry that we have not been able to fit your carpet on time. However, we do feel that you will get your underfelt tonight. One for David. This one's from H. Samuels, the Metro Centre Department. Dear Sir, congratulations on your wedding day. As a jewellers, we feel obliged to remind you of the 5 rings of marriage. The engagement ring, the wedding ring, the suffering, the torturing, and the enduring. One for Kerry. Oh, this is from my wife, Susan. Remember, Kerry, that a husband is like a tiled floor. Lay it right the first time round, and you can spend years walking all over it. And one for Kerry. Oh yes, it's another one for Kerry. Oh, this is from all the women in the room here today. Remember, Kerry, that David is a man. Therefore, hints do not work. One for David, from all of the men here today. David, consider the words of Oscar Wilde. Women are meant to be loved, not understood. Oh, I can see some nodding heads there. Another one for David. Congratulations. We are sorry to lose such a loyal and valued customer. All the very best from all of the staff at the Sexy Senoritas Massage Parlour, Correct Mar, Spain. We have another one for Kerry. Dear Kerry, good luck on your wedding day. I hope that you will have many happy years together. I will always wonder what might have happened if things had worked out between us. Lots of love and kisses. Frank Lampard. And one for David. Dear David, good luck on your wedding day. And I hope that you have many happy years together. I will always wonder what might have happened if things had worked out between us. I've got background music. Lots of love and kisses. Frank Lampard. Another one for David. From all of the married men here today. David, a happy marriage is a relationship where one person will always be right and the other is the husband. True. And a one for Kerry. From all of the married women here today. Kerry, it is said that marriage is a 50-50 partnership. And the person that came up with that knows little about women and even less about fractions. The last one is for Kerry. Kerry, we would like to give you 5 tips which we feel you will need for a successful marriage. 1. A man who will treat you right and always stand by your side. 2. A man who will shower you with gifts and compliments. 3. A man who will comfort you in times of trouble. 4. A man who will grant your every request. And 5, and most importantly, ensure that David never gets to know the names of these 4 men. And that was from Bigamists Anonymous. And so, to close, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to look at the humorous side. Over the past few years, David has given Kerry the confidence and the positive outlook on life which she needed and she deserved. Kerry has given David exactly the same, and this, along with their simple requests for the future of family, togetherness, happiness and contentment, in my book, makes them the special people that I know and I love. Standing here on your wedding day in the company of so many friends, old and new, I feel overwhelmed by a sense of affection for them both. I consider it an honour to be your best man here today, and a pleasure to be your friend. I wish you love, laughter, and happily ever after. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to ask you to do, will you all please stand, raise your glasses, and join me in a toast to the new Mr. and Mrs. Turner, and to David and Kerry.
David and Kerry.
And there ends the speech.